Good evening, everyone. I trust by the grace of God we are all doing very fine. This evening we are going to have our health discussion again, and today we'll talk about mental health. Um, the way the society is going of late has created a lot of tension, and through that, people are very stressed and getting very anxious. And so it's very paramount, it's important that we talk about our mental health and our mental state. So let's dive right into it. I would use a mixed tongue, so Tree with English. All right. What at all are we expecting to get at the end of this lesson? We should be able to know what mental health is about. Okay, we'll have to talk a little bit about stress and then how it affects our everyday lives. Talk a little about anxiety and depression as well. Okay, and then how at all are we going to improve our mental health status? Right, and then if someone has a mental health issue, how do we support them? So basically, these are the things we would be addressing this evening. Okay, mental health simply talks about the things we think about, how we feel about ourselves, and then how we feel about other people and the society around us in general. So that is it. So for one to have a very good mental state, certain factors come into play. Personality is one, the person's own self, on one kasane ho. Okay. And then the relation the person has with the people around him or her. So it gives us an example here. It says it influences our ability to cope with change, transition, and life events, such as having a baby, moving to a new house, experiencing bereavement. So, in all these instances, you get to realize that society is at play. And these are the things that affect our mental status. And so, the moment someone has a baby, you get to realize one way or the other, the person can be happy. Some people can have a baby and they'll be sad. These are all mental health related issues. Someone moves into a new home. Person may be happy because maybe person may be impressed. Okay, maybe to no, maybe someone can go there, the person may not be happy. It's also a different state altogether. Someone this can lead to depression and all the like. So every single thing that happens in our life is related to our mental health status. In some instances, we say some people are mentally ill. What qualifies someone to be mentally ill? Okay. He says there are health conditions that involves changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or you can have a combination of all of these. So someone has emotional changes which are not normal. Someone has a thinking or behavior pattern which is not normal. Okay, before we say a person is mentally ill, mind you, the movement between emotions is not an abnormality but rather a normality. In mental health, we expect that a person will be able to move with changing emotions. And mean say it is expected that at least everybody will be able to show some form of happiness and joy in that particular moment. As but no be you know that person, there's something wrong with that person. There's something wrong with that person at that particular moment. We need to address it. You are married. Your wife just had an accident and died. Now, when you see such an incident, the expected emotion is supposed to be sadness, but this person is rather happy. There is something we need to question. There's a question mark over them, either in relation to the person's mental health status or probably something else. So that's what I'm saying. So every single mood is related to a mental status, but it becomes a problem when someone stays in one particular mood for a particular long time. That's why I'm saying that it's actually normal. Normal say nipa no wani beje kakra at a certain point in time nipa ne raho. You get it. So it's person should be able to move between these particular moods or emotions depending on situation na at that moment. So wojina emu echa, then it becomes a mental health issue and then we need to address it. So someone is sad, sad, all the time the person is sad, eventually the person will get depressed, and through depression, anxiety will take over. You get it? A person is too happy, a person is always happy, always laughing. The person is hitting towards mania. Okay, they are all forms of mental health illnesses. So that's what I'm saying. So the person should be a normal person, should be able to move between moods. So next will be what I'll be addressing. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The whole thing is an umbrella. Okay, so it's a big thing that we are talking about. Stress is there. We have phobia. We have anxiety. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, simply means that those who go through certain situations in life, some people become traumatized after that. Let me put it that way. So a typical example I can give you is, say, a lady who has been raped by, say, 5 guys. That particular event can haunt that particular lady for a long period of time. That is what we call, it's a typical example of something called post-traumatic stress disorder. Another example I can give you is when someone witnesses an accident scene and it was so bad. You see, the person can have panic attacks from that particular event. Now, yes, it was why be an mission. So that's a typical another example of post-traumatic stress disorder. So there are a lot of them. There is panic. There is eating disorders. Yes, that one is also there. So I know certain people who get fat under stress. The reason being that when they are stressed, eating disorders set in. So they tend to eat a lot. I think probably I'm also an example. During when I was in school, during exam periods, I tend to eat a lot because I get stressed. So these are all mental health related issues. But you see, you need to address them diplomatically so that you don't become stuck in that particular mood. So these are the things that are expected of us to maintain in respect to our mental health. So you see, you have the healthy zone. So if you have looked at the arrow down here, say a person cannot automatically always stay in the zone where we call healthy. Along the line, the person can move into the reactive phase. Okay, the person will react to something because society and never bit me you understand. So once in a while we react to things, but the most important thing to notice is when you go into the reactive phase, make sure that the person is able to come back into the healthy phase or the normal phase. You understand? So the normal phases, those are the things. The person has to be calm and steady. Okay, depending on fit, you have to be fit. That is why it is important for us to partake in our exercises and then daily keep fit routines, because if you are not physically fit, you are mentally unhealthy. Okay, psychologically the person is not stable. So you have to be fit. And I was say where the dean so you should be fed. That is why there's a statement that a hungry man is an angry man. Yes. And then rest is also important. The person should have rested. Okay. And then the person should behave ethically. You should follow morals. The person should follow morals. Obey rules. Okay. Socially active. People who don't mingle, there is a problem with them. We need to find a way to solve. Those people, research has shown that people who don't mix up in society have the higher tendency of causing suicides. Yes, so that is it. So people who are mentally stable or okay should be socially active. You get it once in a while, come out, talk, and all those things. And then you should be relaxing and recreative. You get time, listen to some music. Try and find some joy in life. Okay, and then the person should be self-confident. If you are someone who lacks self-confidence, you need to see someone to help you. It's not good. So in the reactive phases, you see, the person will become easily agitated. No one say person is angry, person is frustrated and tired. The things the person usually does all of a sudden this person is not turning up or showing up. We need to find out why, because probably a mental health state issue is at hand. Okay, so I think these are all some of the steps we use to solve some of these. We'll get into that as time goes on. The person becomes nervous and then impatient. as an home be. You get that thing. Difficulty sleeping, insomnia. The person can't sleep, or that won't mean that there is a mental health issue at hand. So it's not surprising our fathers and mothers, they will wake up in the morning with tell you an agreement, and I know during this the mind is not stable. Okay. I feel the normal and academia or yeah without fault, no. What you are saying, academia or sorry now or pamadia or the machine is no quanka line, go straight. The beer go straight. I feel that could be a who near I feel permanent after the chacha. We need to find out why. Probably there's something wrong with this person. You understand? Obey me no to and there was a son there be. You who answer what time sika any sort the money for not their man. Twice or thrice. There's something wrong with this person. Let's find out. Now, if you go beyond the reactive phase and then you enter these phases, persistent anxiety, the person is anxious and sad. The person is getting injured now. But the person is causing harm to the brain. So that's why I'm saying that it's important that when you react to things, you should be able to go back into the normal states. Okay. Then poor concentration, inability to enjoy activities, just like I'm saying. Baby, I most of the so body person is not even observing what we are doing. We have to check that one too. Then hypervigilance. During that particular state, people like that, they tend to think that they are too focused. Yes, that one too. We need to keep an eye out for it. They are too focused. Okay. Then severe deterioration in daily functioning in home, work and school. They said they make a nipa no opama there nema timi ko ye or that then see so go straight afei hu bibi afei the after then kwa there so ntimi mpam kra. Then we have to find out why. The child was performing well in school. Okay, because at least he was an average student. By now the person is falling very low. At first the person could score like 60 or 70 at maths, but now the person is scoring 10. That is too bad. You need to find out why. And then the person will get mentally ill when the person is able to now shows all these things. Angry outbursts. To the extent say also sorry. Now what's him not that person is now mentally ill. We need to find a way to bring the person back. Okay. The daily routines. That's a daily routine. The person is not doing it anymore. The person should have brushed. The person is not doing it anymore. So typically, they are the people we would say they've now gone mad. You understand? So the most important lesson I'm a person in 92 whatever the situation is, I be move you free your healthy mind state into your reactive phase. Now, make sure that you deal with that thing, or you find someone to help you deal with that, so that you come back. Don't overstay in the reactive phase. Okay, when the person overstays in the reactive phase and is not able to go back to the healthy phase, that means that the person is going to progress. That means that the next moment is going to move into the injury phase, and by the time you realize the person is getting into the ill states. These things that we are talking about, they happen. The line between Obi Ewo in a normal mental health state and going or crossing over into the other state is very slim. Okay, many a times yet say Obi Atresekai was trying to what happened? The person just crossed the line for a short while. Do you understand? And they're able to go beyond the reactive phase, and by the time we realize they have entered into the injury phase and then the ill phases, maybe the kind of more signs they didn't mind. So one day the person enters into the injured phase and begins to do things which are not in accordance with their behavior. You understand? So these things are very necessary. So this is exactly what I'm trying to talk about. So the movement between the phases. Okay, sometimes we go, we come, but the important thing is wherever you go, make sure you come back to the center. All right. So we don't talk about mental health a lot. We think it's for people who are quote unquote mad, but no, we are all involved. We are all indicators for mental health related issues. Why? Because at the beginning I said that mental health has got to do with our personality and our relationship with other people. And so far as we are in society, we would always have mental health related issues. Okay, and we need to address them as such. Okay, so let's talk a little about stress. Sometimes when work overloads us, the result is stress. Okay, the result is stress. Stress ideally is not a psychiatric diagnosis, but it's very close. Okay, it's very, very close. Let me give you an example. If someone is struggling to manage their feelings of stress, along the line, it progresses into anxiety. Do you understand? So a lot of workload, the person is not able to cope with work. The person is supposed to deliver certain responsibilities. The person is able to do them because there are so much. But the person doesn't have anyone to talk to, and the person begins to brood over all these things along the line. So that is stress. But through that, eventually, anxiety sets in, and then depression will follow. Are we there? So that is how it is. Fear is also one of the mental health states that I want us to address. Fear can come in two forms. Fear can be good, fear can be bad. Let me explain to this. Whenever the human system is afraid, according to God's own design, we release certain hormones, okay, which in simple terms we call the fight or flight hormones. These hormones help us to escape the current danger that we are in. So in a situation like that, for example, you were on a path, you met a snake. At that moment, you get to realize you have a slight panic attack. Your heart begins to beat very fast. You begin to breathe faster. All these things are as a work of those hormones. They help you gather enough energy to do one of these two things. One, either you fight, that is, either you find a stick, find a stone to kill the snake, or you fly. What you saying? There are two things. Either say ubenya hoden bi e de aku aboa no, ana ubenya hoden bi de adwane. These are the two things. So in this moment, fear becomes a good thing. But you see, fear on the other side can be one of the most powerful emotions that can affect our minds and can destroy a lot of things in our lives. If you are afraid to do a lot of things, you don't take risks. And mostly, people who don't take so much risks don't succeed. That is why we need to address fear and what kind of fear that we get. Okay, so let me go through this. As fear is something we consider to be a bad thing, okay, and it makes us make bad decisions. Fear is also a good thing because it is response to survival, just like I've already talked about. All right, fear is not reasonable when it keeps us from doing what we want and follow our dreams. It gets in our way and stops us from taking action. Okay, so that is it. So if you are afraid to take a venture because you may lose, in this case, you may want to address it very well. Talk to someone. Maybe you have to get that fear out of your past to be able to take that particular activity. Anxiety refers to feeling of worry. When people worry, they get nervous. Okay, and along the line, probably because they're afraid of something. At the corner show, what I say, and then they get very anxious. Panic attacks, and simpler terms I would pick would be I am share. Yes, a panic attack creates a feeling of sudden and intense anxiety. Panic attacks can also have physical symptoms such as shaking, feeling disoriented, nausea, okay, rapid and irregular heartbeats. I can say dry mouth. The result is you lose appetite, okay, and then sweating, most feel free. A typical example would be someone who is going for an interview. Person can have a panic attack at that moment. So you see, when you are going for an interview and you are afraid, let me put it that way, that particular reactions that you get is a form of anxiety and a typical example of a panic attack. All right. I would not want to talk about this. Okay, so depression is also a common mental disorder which is characterized by persistent sadness. So the person has lost a very close friend, the person has lost a family member, the person gets sad. But I see, the person is sad for a very long time. The person is going to get depressed. Depression is going to affect the person's mood so drastically. So drastically. All right. So, what do we do as a group to help each other with mental related issues? The first central point is that we all have to learn about mental health, and that is why this evening we are talking about mental health. Right, so that at least one or two things we should all know. All right, so the first thing on top, I want to talk about don't judge or criticize. It's one thing I would advise all of us to always keep away from. Why? Because we do not know what the other person is going over. So if you see someone is quiet, if you see someone is moody, if you realize the person is too happy, don't judge the person. Try to find out why. That would help you get a solution. Don't be a judge. No, that is not it. We have to find out why. We should be too quick. We shouldn't be too quick to judge. We should be patient. We will need a lot of patience to do this. Okay. And then we need to listen. We need to use our ears. So you see, while we go for our joggings, while we play football, while we walk around and talk, let's keep a hearing ear. Through those particular meetings, someone might voice out one or two things that worry them. Try and pick up some of these things. Sometimes it can be a repeated statement. The person keeps on repeating something over and over and over again. You need to pick that and then try to find out what it means, what a person is up to, and then you know how to help the person. Let's stay in contact. Very important. So I'm happy that one of our occasions, one of the programs on the week schedule says, let's call someone and check up on somebody. Stay in contact with the person. And then we need to pay a lot of attention. Very important. And we should be forgiving as a group. You understand? We should be very forgiving. It's going to help clear a lot of things. Stress, the anxiety, and all the others. And the point is, even if someone is stressed and then a person wrongs you, the very moment you begin to be stern and too hard on that person, you're going to push the person further down into depression. So we should actually learn to forgive. And I think everything should be well. Recovery is about building a meaningful and satisfying life, whether there are recurring or ongoing symptoms of mental health problems. Okay, the key themes of recovery are agency gaining, of a self-control over one's life and one's illness. So basically what I'm saying is, when someone is in a state of reaction, when someone moves into the reactive phase, ideally the person is not mentally ill. But the little things that we can do as a group is to make sure the person gains self-control. Okay, to get control over themselves and then come back to their normal phase. As individuals too, we need to self-assess. Okay, it's very important. At least at the end of the day, before you go to bed, try and go over the things you've done in the course of the day and see if there were some places, if one or few things that you got certain reactions that you needed not to react in that way. Try and find ways to address those ones. So basically, we've talked about mental health, okay, sense of personality, ourselves, and then the environment around us. Stress. We are overwhelmed by a lot of things, and then we are stressed. Stress has impact on us. Too much stress or not addressing stress will end up resulting in anxiety and depression. Okay, so we talked about anxiety and then depression too. And then at the workplaces, in the schools, at home, we need to be able to recover from every mood that we go, every emotion that we feel. So when you are getting too sad, make sure you pull yourself back. When you're getting too moody, pull yourself back. When you're getting too happy, make sure you pull yourself back. So that is it. And we should be able to know how to support other people. We should be observant. We should be forgiving. Okay, we should listen attentively. You understand? Above all, make sure that you always keep your mental health information at hand, so that if you see someone going off, you say a person is depressed, you should be able to know why they were doing it. Okay, hyperactive, Because and why high, then he's on to that. At least the person is calm. Because as I said, normal health state, a person should be calm. But now say why he do. What is wrong with that person? You should try to find out. Okay, so I hope this few info that I've given would be helpful. I'm giving room for some questions now. Thank you.